Hey everyone, I'm going to take a minute to quickly introduce you to what this is and who it's for. The audience is more for builders, anyone else interested in personal AI agents or agent orchestration, or anyone interested in second brains or personal operating systems, or any designers or product leaders in general. My problem is that I have too many life lanes, too many devices and apps. I have a scattered memory and even more scattered notes, documents, and projects stored in the cloud and on 25-year-old hard drives. The idea is a personal agent fleet coordinated through a centralized mission control dashboard. This is a prototype, and as a designer, I prototype everything that I build. And this is an early prototype of what I'd like to build with fake data. And I've already started building a real version on the side of Nexus, basically my chief of staff. But I'm open to suggestions on what's working for you guys, which is why I'm making this video. My inspiration, there's a couple guys on X. One is Tommy Stark. Another is Aditya Anand. Look them up. Super impressive. They've created real agents, which is where I plan to get to. But I'm working on one, and I'm building that one out to help me build the rest of my agent fleet. What this is not. Most videos out there of agent building are built by content creators, building agents to help them create content. So this isn't something that's helping me with work or a business or anything that I want to sell. It's just a side project that I hope will help me run my personal life. And I just thought I'd share it to help spawn more ideas. So I took all of my life lanes and I organized them into 5 life pillars. So we have faith, family, finance, fitness, and fun. There's definitely more, but those are my top 5 in that priority order. Each one of those pillars has so much context, too much for one agent. So now we have the ability to not only create one agent or one agent for each pillar, but a whole team of agents for each pillar, each with their own specialized focus and personality. I mean, you don't want your fitness trainer agent talking to you the same way your financial advisor agent does, right? So let's dive in. So this is my landing page, my daily brief, and we'll get back to this. But I want to first show you mission control. There's a lot of top-level performance data here, all interactive. But what I want to first show you is my full agent roster. So this is my team of 33 agents, 26 are running. Each of them, Nexus is my chief of staff, but the rest of them have a team lead and a bunch of robots doing specialized tasks. So you can see them all here. You can see that finance and fitness are kind of built out more, and we'll get into those details. Another view of my agent teams are this view. Kind of a cool animation, not for real purpose, but more just the cool factor. I can click and move this around to focus on a certain one. I can kind of click on one and see the activity going on between the agent assistants and their leader, and then the information flowing to and from team leads. Pretty cool. Anyways, pretty neat thing that I built with Claude Design. All right, let's talk about the utility nav first. So, of course, we have light and dark mode, all pretty well mapped out. We have full keyboard shortcuts that all work. I'll use Escape to close this. I have a blurring tool. There's sensitive data that I don't want to reveal when someone's looking over my shoulder, so I can blur that out. I have the activity panel that folds out, and you can see this was just updated 2 minutes ago, but if you watch closely, Ada just rebalanced my portfolio just now. Vera's working on my VO2 max estimate, and it just continues on all what's going on behind the scenes if I wanted to watch it and monitor it and build up my trust, right? Because I mean, these things are all working behind the scenes. I need to be able to trust it. So this is one way to build that trust. I have the weather widget. So this is a simple weather widget that's shown on my Apple iPhone. I click into it, it gives me a full blown out weather dashboard. It's kind of inspired by Weather Underground and Hello Weather, two of my favorite weather apps. But what's cool about this is it shows recommendations from my agents based on the expected weather for the day, like any workout plans or any projects that I have going on. So Atlas is considering taking the top off the Jeep for a drive. Vera's talking about moving to the gym because it's going to be too hot outside, the garage gym, etc. So pretty cool stuff. Now I'm going to close my side panel with my shortcut. And then let's go back to, well, let me first show you the rest of the mission control panel. A lot of interesting details throughout. Back to daily brief. And looking at start my day. So this is how I start every day. I pray, plan, and proceed. Just a structure for me to start my day. My agents are basically helping me in each of these categories. My little don't forget panel, these are my reminders pulled from my Apple Reminders app. I use these consistently and faithfully. I rely on them. It's pretty important for me to have these at my fingertips. This is more of a Google Photos on this day feature where I can see just what happened on this day 5 years ago, flip through it to see what happened at different times through my Google photo collection. My honey-do list, that's piling up all the time, always getting longer, but that's just a good way for me to have all this at my fingertips. I can collapse that when I'm done. Look at my financials. So some high-level data, some trading desk information that we'll get into in a minute, stuff about my portfolio balance and the market pulse. Then what actions are needed or active projects going on throughout the day. So that's how I want to start every day. And that's what I do, but I'm using my phone and other devices to get all that information. All right. The board is a place for all the board leaders to interact, make board decisions, check on pillar health. Each of the rest of the pages are pretty consistent. My Faith Council page has a lot of high-level information, agent roster, outputs and activity, and the details. Family is pretty much the same. And I'll jump to fun because it's pretty much the same. But where it gets interesting is drilling into finance. So I like trading options, mostly swing trading. So I wanted less of a budget tracker and more like a real trading desk. So I used Perplexity to build me a team modeled after a typical trading desk. It mapped out the team structure and how agents should work with each other. So on this, I have an autonomy mode at the top where I can put it into research only, semi-autonomous, or when I trust it more, put it into full autonomous mode. You can see my avatars mapped out here. I used GPT Image 2 to create small avatars as well as more detailed ones that I'll show later. Pretty interesting stuff here around the committee live loop. So it shows you what they're debating, what they're validating, some ideas that are being floated up. A Kanban board for those to be tracked from ideas to being back tested. committee, what's waiting for me, some live trades, what's closed last 7 days, open positions. This is all fake data, of course, but what it could be: open positions, alpha signals, risk dashboard, and then when it gets really interesting is showing the live pipeline. You can start to see the data flowing between agents. There's a critic and debate team, the researchers going at it. They're validating, going through risk, executing, and monitoring. As markets change, these agents watch and adjust any type of strategy for the team to work on, and everything goes up to George for approval and then to me. There's some safety rails, alpha decay, lots of cool stuff for my trading desk. But the main point of this is that I think the future of agents is making them work with each other in the background. And I want my finance workplace not a place for one black box agent making calls. I want debate. I want the bull case and the bear case. I want risk sizing, guardrails, audit trails, and then human approval before anything meaningful happens. The agents can argue the idea in the background, package the recommendation, and report up to George, but the system still respects the boundaries. All right, on to fitness. So I'm a bit of a data hoarder. I track pretty much everything. I don't know why, but I think it just helps keep me motivated. So I have all these high-level stats about me. I have a sleep tracker. They say sleep is super important. I think it is, but this is all synced from my Apple Watch and Apple Health, including the hypnogram. That's pretty cool to see. Then moving down to my workout schedule. So I had Perplexity build me out a customized workout schedule specifically for me. It's pulled into this dashboard, and then with my agents working, it can be adjusted dynamically based on everything else that's going on. Then I practice intermittent fasting and try to do a 24-hour fast once a month. So I have a Keto Mojo device to see if I'm in ketosis while I'm fasting. So all this data is really important for watching all that as a calendar for our fasting hours through the month. And then my lipid panel, cardiac evidence, research and protocol. This is all tied together because I've been on kind of a carnivore / ketogenic diet for the last 4 years, and it raised my cholesterol. So I watch it very closely, as well as visit my cardiologist on a regular basis. So my nutrition agent, Ember, can watch all this data and suggest tweaks to my diet and watch it very closely. LMHR stands for lean mass hyperresponder. So it's a phenotype with these settings. So if you fall within this category, which I do, I'm that phenotype. So I watch this very closely. I watch all the research and scientific papers that come out around this. So it's something I'm just really interested in. Then there's the Hume Health app and scale that we have. So it's this device that measures all kinds of interesting things. Don't know how quite to use it yet, but it's pretty cool what it pulls in. Claude Design had a little bit of trouble with these types of images. I think just didn't want to violate any copyrights of Hume, so it tweaked it quite a bit to make it a little different. The main point here, and here's the rest of the page, is that instead of tracking weight or workouts, the system can connect the plan to actual inputs like training, recovery, nutrition, progression, lipid markers, weekly workout schedules, all that. The point is not just another dashboard, but the point is one place where my fitness staff can help turn all the scattered signals into a real plan that I can follow. So I'm stoked about that. Going down to the memory section. So this is just what I call don't forget. So because I forget a lot of stuff. So this is probably the most personal part of the whole thing. This is the memory layer. So my second brain, basically not just reminders, but long running context across multiple sources. I'm using Obsidian. I already have Dropbox for a long time, Google Drive, tons of Google Photos, notes, devices, old hard drives, health data, and then mix in the agent conversations, and it gets pretty interesting. So it pulled together these threads for me. So it uses all these sources to pull in common threads to make it interesting for me. So my Jeep build here has certain notes. It made a discovery, pulled in some photos, my budget file that was on my Google Drive, as well as a milestone. And it could do this for pretty much anything that I have going on. So there's a lot, obviously. I can add a new thread, categorize it to whatever. I can add a note for anything. It has all my metadata about me and my family. A lot of this is fake, of course. And a way to search through this at any time. So the main point here is that agents can collaborate around those threads, offer new ideas, and preserve the history. Looking at settings. So this gets pretty interesting. This is mainly my fleet-wide configuration page. So it tracks monthly spend. And again, these are fake numbers, but if it's going to cost me this much, I'm going to have to figure out another plan for this. But for now, I designed it to offer suggestions and optimization opportunities. So in this example here, it has 9 suggestions. It shows all of the agents, as well as what each of them is using as a model. It shows the cost breakdown and what's optimal versus where I can save some money. So it's suggesting here on Wilma, my family lead, that it's currently using Opus 4. If I switch to Sonnet 4, I can save $146. So I can look at the different models and how much each one of them might cost me, and then apply that switch just like that. Or go back, and if I just wanted to change any of the others, I can make that change that easily, and it'll save me or cost me more money and map that out for me. Going down to API keys, it's showing all my active API keys as well as inactive ones. I can enable that, disable another, remove it, add another key, etc. So with my token usage, inputs and outputs, it shows preferences. So if I need to, dial back the ceiling a little bit this month, I could do that, and it'll help me with those guardrails. All right, back to daily brief. So here is where I can search for anything. I can ask any agent anything or have them work together. If I click into it, it'll give me some suggestions. I can use / for actions, and it'll give me more suggestions for those, like summarize. So you can see Nexus is thinking, and then it summarizes the activity for me. Pretty cool. Okay. I can ask an agent by using the @sign. If I wanted to ask Solomon, what can I pray for today? It has some canned answers in this prototype, but a lot of it's pretty interesting. Has Romans 8 queued up for the week. Pretty cool. I can use speech to text. So if I said something like, how's the Katy trip looking? Enter that. Nexus is thinking, it'll give me an answer. All right, we have October 10th through 17th pinned. All right, cool. I can continue that thread if I want. Moving on to voice mode. So it's connecting, listening. So if I said, hey, Nexus, we're heading back to California, etc. This is all fake data, but we can have that conversation. Here's another shortcoming of Claude Design. I tried many prompts to make this more spherical, and it was just suffering. So gave up on that. I was using a lot of tokens on that, but it does pretty good overall. All right, and then finally, meeting mode. So this is where I can put in a Google Meets meeting code, say who's joining, start the meeting, and you get me and the avatars starting a meeting. So there's a transcript on the side to basically do the typical small talk you have in the beginning of a meeting. I have them bantering back and forth a little bit. They each light up. I'll eventually get them to start talking, but for now they just light up and kind of run through the typical startup of a meeting. But I made these images as well as their avatars in GPT Image 2. Pretty cool. All right. That's about it. There's some other little details here and there, but that's the gist of it. But the main idea here is that I'm not going to try to build the whole fleet first. The immediate goal is to make Nexus and make him the most excellent chief of staff ever. And then once that works, the specialist agents can grow around it with clear roles, personalities, the shared memory, and clean handoffs. So I still consider this rough, but it's a direction I think personal AI is heading. So less generic assistant and more deeply contextual operating systems for your life. So I'd love to hear from other builders and designers out there. If you had a personal mission control, what would you want it to track, protect, or remind you about? Thanks for watching.